So you
Welcome to the Jira Life, the place to find news, events, and interviews with the Atlassian community's movers and shakers. Join our hosts, Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira guy Nissen, as well as the Jira amigos in the Peanut Gallery, as we sit down and discuss the latest going on in the Atlassian ecosystem. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life chose us.
Jira Life, Jira amigos. I don't know if you've noticed, but I am not Alex, and this is not Rodney. What? Because it is a Jira Live takeover, women in tech style. I don't know. Wait, are we clap this way? No, we clap this way. There you go.
I think we're going the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm like, we didn't coordinate it beforehand. I am here with with Sarah Wright. How are you, Sarah?
I'm excellent. I'll be Alex. I'll be anything here. Just happy to be here with you guys today.
And we have our guest. This is opposite day where we actually say the thing that we don't mean to say, but the opposite of it. Hi, Josh. Josh, do you want to do an intro of yourself? How are you? Tell us about you. Are a CEO. Tell us about your company.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name is Josh, CEO of Grid.io. We pretty much focus on anything Atlassian related. So as I'm sure everyone's very familiar with the Atlassian platform and all of their suite of products, we love Atlassian, and that's pretty much all we do. We consult, we implement, migrate, pretty much help you get the most out of your Atlassian suite.
Dream awesome. It, eat it, do all those things, wear it, I'm sure at some points, right?
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay, I just have to jump in with the first question though. Because I kind of tried to practice saying your last name in case I had to. So I was going with Golosinskiy.
That's pretty close. It's good enough. I would call it a pass.
Good enough? All right. We're going with that.
So you said, Sarah, that you had a connection to Alex. Was it a location-wise? Tell us more about that.
So let me just first start with, do you recognize my background here? You may not, but I don't think it's far from you. Are you in Springfield?
I am.
Missouri?
I am.
This is Dogwood Canyon. One of my
I've never been there.
Oh my God. It is like maybe 40 minutes from you. It is.
I know where it is. I have just never been there.
Yeah. One of the most beautiful places. I mean, look at it. So I'm just up here in St. Louis, so not far from you. So enjoying a little Missouri time with you right now is basically.
I have been in that area, but I've never been to Dogwood. So eventually I'll probably go there and see it and be like, oh my gosh, this is what I was missing.
Right.
So how long is it of a drive from where you guys are? Are you like 30 minutes away, hours away, days?
Probably. Well, to St. Louis, it's about 3 hours. To Dogwood from Springfield is about 45 minutes or so.
Yes.
Not too far. So I was in Fort Leonard Wood when I was in the Army. How far is that from you? I have
no idea where that is.
I think we've got like a triangle going on. So if St. Louis is right here, I feel like Fort Leonard Wood would be here, and then he's down here in Southwest, because I think Fort Leonard Wood, it's like pretty central Missouri.
Yeah, yes. Wild times in Missouri, I got to tell you. Way to hold it down.
Yes, that's exactly what we're known for, is just, fly over us. I don't think so. We're too close for that.
I remember like just one day in Missouri, I experienced all weather conditions. Like it was really hot, suddenly raining, hailed on us, then really hot again. And I was like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Yep, sometimes it snows here, and then the next day it's 70 degrees, summer weather.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's wild. It's crazy. So what was the inspiration for Grid.io? Tell us about your journey in the IT sector.
Yeah, so really it was just a passion for Atlassian and the Atlassian products. And as I've kind of worked with Jira at first initially, and then a little bit of Confluence. And at first I was like, Jira, whatever, kind of as everyone else thinks. But the more you dive into it, and the more you utilize it, the more you understand how powerful and capable the platform is. And just over time, I kind of enjoyed using it, and recommended it to pretty much everyone that I worked with. I've administered it for, a few years at that point. And I was like, man, I just love working with Jira. I love migrating other companies to Jira, helping them get the most out of it. So we just kind of built a company around it. And today our primary focus is just anything Atlassian related. So not just Jira. Awesome enough, they purchased Loom, and I was using Loom pretty heavily before they actually acquired it. So it was a really, really cool move, and awesome to see the integrations popping up with Confluence and Jira with Loom. So I love the direction they're heading in and kind of everything that they're implementing. I guess not everything, but for the most part, I love everything about Atlassian, and just love to help people get the most out of it.
Do you love the things they're implementing, but maybe lamenting the things they're not? Or is there something that's been created, been done that you're like, maybe not?
Yeah, there's a few things more so on like the lack of implementation. There's like a couple of things that I'm like, man, why isn't this possible yet? And then obviously some more common things like pricing's getting a little bit high, and it's kind of a little bit harder to recommend for smaller teams and for more, budget conscious teams to use at this point. Whereas before it was a great option. But comparing it to other tools, it's still relatively affordable, which is great. But yeah, there's a lot of features that I come across and I'm just like, man, why can't I do this in Jira yet? Or with like Confluence in particular, sometimes it bugs me the way it's a little bit slow, like compared to Notion or similar tools. So those are the things that kind of get me, once in a while.
So if you had to give Atlassian your top 2 constructive feedback, one for Jira, one for Confluence, what would you give them?
Oh man, I don't know that they care, because they're really focused on acquiring new customers and bringing in teams into the Atlassian world that aren't already using them. So obviously you have like your development team, maybe your customer support team, but now their big focus is pulling in like the marketing team, the project management team, pretty much everyone in your company under one roof at the Atlassian umbrella. So it's like, if I were to say, hey, there's, these feature requests that have been open for 10 years and a lot of us are begging to have them, probably doesn't really matter to them too much, but that would be my biggest thing. Like a lot of those feature requests that are open that a lot of us are asking for, if they could just knock out a few of those and, make us happy once in a while, I think that would be a big thumbs up.
I do have a question here. I told Valerie I was going to like sit in the background, and then I can't help myself. Sorry, friend.
No, it's a tag team all the way, Sarah. There was no way I was going to let you hang out in the background. This is a woman in tech takeover.
Exactly.
You gotta co-host this bad boy with me.
All right. So speaking of the different teams, right? So you help all kinds of companies doing it. Not that I'm going to make you pick a favorite, but maybe not a favorite, but let me ask, are there any other kinds of non-tech teams that you've been able to help get on the platform and then see them go like kind of that same way, where some people, they start using it and there's an immediate just love at first sight, and then some people it's that slow burn and they warm up and they're like, oh yeah, I get this and I like this. So what kind of teams apart from tech teams have you helped?
Yeah, there's a few, and that's probably one of my most, favorite things to do is to bring a team into Jira, and they're like, oh, this is like a developer tool, or this is a techie tool. Why am I in Jira? But teams like HR teams, that's a big one. Running like full onboarding, offboarding, HR requests through the Jira Service Management platform is really, really great and just as good as anything else at this point. Teams like marketing teams are a big one nowadays. I've migrated a lot of teams from tools like Asana, ClickUp, very similar project management style tools. Obviously, some of them have their pros and cons and their own features and their own, their own pluses and minuses. But overall, like I just wrapped up a really big migration from Asana to Jira for an enterprise company, and they're super happy. And usually the teams are like a little iffy on it at first, and they're like, oh, they're forcing us to go to Jira because the rest of the company and developers are using Jira. They're just trying to save some money, or they're just trying to unify us under one platform. But once they're in there and we actually build it to work well for them, and everything we build is, very focused and catered around making their lives easier, I think they really enjoy it. And pretty much every team that we migrated from Asana to Jira, including marketing teams, which are probably some of the most picky teams that I've worked with, all of them were very happy.
That's awesome. Yeah, especially those marketing teams, right? I worked with marketing teams. I kind of helped some, it wasn't my job, but I have helped a marketing team get in there. And in fact, Valerie, I was kind of stuck on your company the other day and I saw you guys work with AEM also.
Mm-hmm.
Adobe Experience Manager, right? And yeah, and helping out some of those teams figuring out their content paths, right?
Yes.
Like all of their publishing paths and things is super fun. Well, at
It
least for me.
is.
I have a
And
weird definition of fun.
I like how people can, once they get past of, oh, this is a tech program, like this, get that past that mindset, then they can see the possibilities. And so I find that marketing teams are the most picky, but once they see the potential that is there, then they don't stop with the request of what they want to automate their entire existence away and do some wild integrations. And I'm like, guys, there are other programs out there. Like, yes, let's have Atlassian at the heart of it all, but can we do email distribution from another something else? Like, can we do, it doesn't have to be your only platform. Then they start over use casing it, which I do find quite interesting when they make that flip flop.
Those can and should moments, right?
Yes.
when it can do something, well, yes, technically, but
You can technically do anything.
Right. Okay,
So
I'm going to put you on the spot again, though. Sorry, though. Speaking of can and should, and you don't have to answer this now, maybe think on it, but what's the craziest one like that? What's the craziest it can do this, but should it do that?
Oh man, I don't know. There's so many. And I wouldn't say it's like a should or shouldn't do it. It's like more of a how much benefit will this bring to you versus like amount of work or like jankiness level that we can implement in Jira. Because, we can do it, but it won't be very seamless. It won't be very nice. But integrating with like, other platforms is a big one that don't have like a direct connection to Jira. So with API, for example, or sending like, let's say automated text messages out from Jira for notifications. Like I've worked with sales teams that use Jira as a CRM and they have a card that goes into a meeting column and they send out a follow-up text message. And that seems to work pretty well. And that's something you should do in Jira. I think it totally works. But then when you get into like, hey, can we like do this, and this, and like a trigger of like 10 sequence events and, something that, won't really work super well or showing like something very specific in Jira or Confluence, it's not always the best scenario for Jira to handle those items. And I think, just keeping things as raw as possible is what I usually recommend, with the least amount of plugins, the most amount of native features right out of the box from Jira. And then obviously leveraging what we can with like those APIs and then those, Zapier automations, if you're using something along those lines, those can be very handy, but more of a nice to have is what I typically suggest those as.
And so how would you deliver that? So I'm your client. I really want to automate all of my text messages, but I want you to splice and dice who I automate my text messages to. And it's probably not the best fit for Jira. Tell me, how do you let me down easy or do you let me down hard?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I just bring them a couple options and I'm just like, hey, here's what we can do. Here are 2-3 options. This is what I'd recommend, or this is what I'd recommend staying away from within implementing and integrating with Jira. Maybe keep this as a manual process, but we could definitely try it out, see how it works, see if it's something you want to do and continue with. But again, something I would probably recommend against. And usually they hire you for your expertise, and they'll kind of take your word for it. Once in a while, you'll kind of get those clients that are like, yeah, let's just do it, let's try it out. And usually they'll go back on it and say, yeah, this is probably not going to work.
Yeah, I like how you phrase that. So in consulting, there is a tendency to shit on people a lot. You should do this, you should do that. I like the approach of giving people options and saying it's my recommendation from my experience, because what people shouldn't do something very individual to them. They fully empowered to do anything they want to. I just don't quite recommend it. So Sean asked, is this pre-recorded? No, Sean, we're live. We're coming at you. Blow us up in the chat, and I'm reading your chats. Also, we have some fairies in the background, some gremlins, whatever mythical creature you would like to call them, that are popping them up in our live stream. So if you say something, it might just appear. What do you have next for us, Sarah?
Sorry, I'm actually kind of laughing right now because the way you said should, I heard a different word for a second. And I was like,
put that.
I was like, that can definitely happen also. Sometimes clients can give you a should on you.
Yes, I phrase it that way intentionally because it makes an impact. So when I'm coaching other teams or I'm coaching IT teams, and I'm like, let's rethink. We probably shouldn't shit on people. And it takes them back for a second. And it's really hard to forget. Once you introduce the concept of shitting on people, then they're like, oh yeah, I should probably not say should out of every, and I've heard it. We've all heard those pitchy people before in consulting is you should do this, you should that, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. And after a while, when that is the path you take, the client tends to get turned off on that concept and then steps away from like really owning and embracing whatever product or app that we're trying to support them in adopting. So I want to keep that melding of that person in loving our apps and seeing the value out of them.
I love that though. Yeah. So and I'm going to, I guess, flatter you, right? So if you only mimic one person, it's flattering if somebody else says it's research. So I'm going to flatter you.
I love it.
And use that.
Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So Go for it. Do it.
I love that.
And own it. Say it's yours. You don't have to attribute it to anybody. You have now embodied. Let's all go around shitting on people.
So I should not do that, right?
I should not shit on people.
I love that. So CEO. Yes, Josh, that's your role over there.
Yeah, the self-given role.
Well, self-given or not, how do you see that role evolving when it comes to these tech companies? What do you see your role in as CEO?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the company size. The more we grow, the more, we bring in new team members and, more Jira admins and more marketing people and all that. I think the more disconnected a CEO or even any executive role gets from like the action from, actually being able to support clients, being able to work with them, understand their needs, their, what they're trying to accomplish, actually developing the things in Jira. I'm kind of doing that less and less, which is probably a good thing and a bad thing. But I think a lot of roles, in an executive role, especially in bigger companies, I feel like those executives are a little more disconnected from kind of like the action, what I mentioned. So I think it's important to stay a little bit more grounded, and, you obviously need to understand your customers, your clients, the people that you're working with, what they need, what solutions they're working for, understanding Jira very well in depth, the Atlassian suite. If I'm jumping on a call with a client and I can suggest something that'll work for them that I know Atlassian could do versus, not knowing is going to make a world of difference for a potential client that I want to close. So I think the role itself will evolve and kind of become a little bit more disconnected from the day-to-day work of being a Jira admin, which I kind of do quite a bit of now, which again is kind of a good and a bad thing, but hopefully still retaining that ability to do new things and experiment and still be able to work with clients directly and understand kind of what they need, and hoping to utilize my capabilities as best as I can and utilize Atlassian's tool set as best as I can for our clients.
Yeah. So I always imagine.
Go ahead.
I always imagine going out on your own, right? Like, and it says a lot about me, right? Is what that picture is in my head. To me, that is literally stepping off a ledge, right? That is, I'm back there on one of these rocks, right? And I am going to step off of that. And personally, I don't know if there's water, pillows, or just more granite that I'm going to land on. What gave you sort of the confidence to go out and do that and know that you were going to have a soft landing out there?
You don't really know, I guess, in a way, but you weigh the risk and reward, and you're like, okay, this is the reward, this is the risk I'm going to take. And if it's worth the risk, you take it. That's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of a personality to go out there and be like, I'm going to do it on my own. I started my own company in 2007, and I was more pushed to do it than I had this brilliant idea and it came to me. I was working with a lot of international entrepreneurs who wanted to start their own little piece of heaven in the United States. And so I picked up so many of them that I was like, I mean, I am doing a business. I probably should put some feet to it. I should put some formality to it. But if you positioned it to me as just like brilliant idea, let's try, I don't know if I would have been so gung-ho about it. Like I would have taken that leap. I think it would have felt more of a risk to me in that area. So
yeah,
bravo.
that makes sense. I mean, like I mentioned, it's, risk versus reward, and it's also like your passion and what you want to do. I've always wanted to run and start my own company, and that was like a dream I've had ever since, I was young. So this was the opportunity that I found, and this is what I was good at. This is what I love doing. So I was like, hey, why not turn this into a company?
I'm going to have my kid watch this then, because my 14-year-old talks about that a lot, right? He's like, I'm going to go start my own company. I'm going to do these things. And again, I'm picturing that ledge, right? It's like, you might as well say you're going to be a rock star. Like, what are you thinking? That's insane. But the reality is people have to do it. And people have done it. That's how we get companies like Grid.io, right? That you did that because something about you said, this is the path for me. That's so awesome.
Yeah. And it goes back to how risk averse are people. So like generationally, there are statistics about generations have different risk aversity, and then genders. So this is the female tech takeover of Jira Life. Women tend to be more risk averse than men. So can we change that vibe? Can we push more to take that risk? Because you don't know what we would create the next time someone does jump off the proverbial ledge. But Josh, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to mention, like you mentioned your 14-year-old is, he wants to start a company, and that's great. And you kind of have to wait, or you kind of have to understand what that entails too. Because when I was younger, obviously you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to make a bunch of money. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to be free and go wherever I want. It's the complete opposite, at least at the very, at the very beginning. It could the complete opposite from, couldn't be further from the truth. You're working way longer. It's way more difficult. It's way more stressful. Working 9 to 5 is you just leave and you forget about it. With a company, you're never going to take a vacation, at least not at first. It's a lot more difficult than just jumping in and making that money and, living a free life. Again, that's the goal. Eventually we'll get there. But yeah, if you want to do that, it definitely takes a lot of effort. And it takes a lot of grit to get through that part of it in the first few years.
It's kind of funny too, right? Like, because now I'm going to reframe part of my thinking. And a friend of mine who's a partner in a small company that they started, and right now she's really stressed out about the idea of all these people who are depending on her, right, as a partner in this organization to make the sales, to bring in, to bring in the clients, et cetera. And then on the other side of it, though, as I start thinking about dependence, I'm like, okay, it's almost like a mothering instinct, right? And you would think at some level, if anybody has a mothering instinct, like to want to have and take care of other folks on your team. Sorry, I've gone way off.
No,
that's here, but
that is not a deep end ledge.
Turning.
So sometimes our nurturing side of what it means to be a woman in our society, like what we're trained or what society tells us we're supposed to be, is that nurturing and that motherly type of concept. But we could reframe it, and the things that make us mothers and caregivers are the same things that would make us great and amazing business owners, and taking care of and nurturing employees and a staff. It is a lot of responsibility, but so is giving birth and raising children. My offspring has 4 legs and a tail. Let me tell you, it was a lot of work on my end. So I got to hand it over to you, Sarah, because it was a ton more work to give birth to a human with 2 legs. Bizarre.
Sometimes I disagree. But dogs look like a total, just a lot of work.
See, it's always good on the other side. One of my favorite moments as a CEO, I consider myself a former CEO these days, is someone coming up to me and saying, it must be nice to be the boss, or have no one be your boss. And I was like, what are you talking about? I have clients, and I gotta I have so many people telling me what to do. I have my clients that have their needs. I have the staff that have their needs. There is no such thing of like your bossless. Yes, I don't have anyone who I directly report to, but I have so many stakeholders. It's a concept that people do have to change when they see what it means to be a CEO or an owner or anything along those lines.
It's a different kind of boss. Yeah, it's you're making one trade for another. Like you don't have anyone who's gonna look over your shoulder on what you're working on, but you're going to be way more responsible and stressed about the delivery or the product that you're delivering because it's your reputation on the line. So you're kind of making a trade there.
Now, I did earlier hear you say, so we started. Do you have partners in your company who kicked this off with you, or what's the origin there?
Yeah, it's pretty much just me and my wife kind of started, and she does a lot of the admin stuff, a lot of the accounting. She's a former accountant, so she does a lot of the accounting and financials, a lot of the operational side of things. And then now we're a team, so we have a marketing specialist, we have a couple of Jira developers, we have developers that help us with API integrations and migrations within Jira. Video editors, things like that. So our company's grown now. So I say we because we're now more of a team.
Yeah.
I've been playing around with the idea of a partnership, but as of right now, we're not a partnership.
It sounds like you're a partnership with your entire team, though. So that's pretty amazing that you've expanded in such a pivotal way of you have your wife, but you also have your marketing team, you have developers, you have such a clean focus on Atlassian and Atlassian Tools. Speaking of which, Atlassian, where do you see it going in 5 to 10 years as far as implementations go? What challenges do you see when you look into your crystal ball? What do you see out there? What are some challenges? Any advice to future-proof our Atlassian implementations?
So that in 5 to 10 years, we're going to come back and watch this and go, Josh nailed it. Go.
That's right. No pressure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would probably guess that a lot more, kind of as we were talking, just general teams outside of the tech world are going to be inside of Jira at some point, inside of Confluence. Obviously, Atlassian's making those big strides and changes to a lot of their marketing, a lot of their core product offering to kind of make it more tempting for those teams to join and just be under the same roof. There's a lot of benefits to that, obviously, but my guess is that they're going to keep improving on that, and hopefully at some point we'll get to a point where most of the tool set you need is right under the Atlassian umbrella. I personally hate context switching and having 30 different tools for everything, paying a lot, not being able to integrate them. That's one of my pet peeves, and it's very difficult for me to work in one platform and not have any integration with another. So my guess is that Atlassian is going to keep acquiring and keep tempting a lot of teams and doing their best to kind of reel in those teams that aren't currently using Jira, or the people in the organization that aren't using Jira, or just anything in the Atlassian suite, and just kind of bringing them in and essentially having everyone in the organization, if you're a 2-person organization or 20,000, every single person is going to be using some kind of Atlassian product. That's kind of my vision as to what's probably going to happen.
You hit on something interesting right there about integration of tools and not switching tools. So at Teams 24 Europe, they low-key snuck in this concept of an API that they've been developing on. I gave in one of my AI classes, I think it was Sean and a couple of other creators and community leaders some homework about testing out this API for me and letting me know how it goes. I'm not as cool a leading edge as Rodney when it comes to tech adoption. I'm a little more skeptical about such things. So have you tested out the new API?
I haven't. I've heard a little bit about it, but I haven't gone too in depth.
Yeah, I think from the fact that they even have something coming down the lines, that they've released anything about an API that is supposed to have robust connectors, especially since they're trying to do that with Rovo and being able to connect Rovo with a ton of various different things. I think you nailed it when you said that they're trying to integrate more into the ecosystem so you don't have to transition tools too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point about Rovo. I'm not like fully sold on the Rovo future yet. I think it's too expensive, and a lot of teams that I've showed it to are like, yeah, no way, it's basically ChatGPT, but a little bit better. I think it has potential. It has a lot of potential, and it has potential primarily in the things of taking action rather than AI summarization and those typical ChatGPT use cases that you've seen before. Because a lot of those are free these days, and there's 100 ChatGPT wrappers out there. But in terms of like the actual taking action, so Rovo can do some of that today, but the more they expand that, and then if a lot of teams and a lot of plugin app developers, if we're able to take action outside of Jira and the Atlassian suite, I think that'll be a game changer. So whenever that really starts to come down the pipeline and those app developers start to integrate that, I think I could see that as being pretty big.
Yeah, it's the price that seems to be the hurdle. For me, it's a little, so I use both Rovo and ChatGPT. For me, Rovo hits the mark because it pulls in my unique business knowledge. So anything that I have that is specific to my org, within my Confluence, within Jira, about my specific customer, I can consolidate all of that information and then have intelligent responses. Whereas my ChatGPT is just going to give me what's information out there on the internet, it has value, and I do use it situationally. But speaking of AI, Sarah has a game for us. Are you ready? We are at that halfway mark.
But let me scroll and then I will be ready.
I love it. So we're going to challenge you a bit. It's our halfway mark. We're halfway through our live stream. Sarah, over to you.
And I'm going to be really transparent here. I used AI to create this fun little game for us, right?
But it's right on brand because you used AI to create an AI game.
Yeah. So if it's wrong, we know who to blame. A little thing called ChatGPT.
You didn't even use Rovo?
I did not. I don't actually have access to Rovo. So
join our demo site. Join our demo site. Use our Rovo. It's perfectly fine. They reset it every day, as an Atlassian resets it every 90 days. And then I'll give you the link to re-sign up for it again. It is you're a community leader. You got it. If I have it, you all have it. So
great. Okay.
They're like,
I got to get it. I've been a little distracted the past month with some work, but I'm excited. All right. And meanwhile, I was like, Rovo's been out for more than a month. So our fake news quiz, my friend. Ooh. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I know. So we just did a tech news. We said, give us some fake news, tech news, right? And let's go with the first one. Question 1. What new technology was introduced by Apple in 2024? And Alex will probably already answer. Was it a smart pillow that adjusts temperature for optimal sleep? Number 2, a HoloPad, a personal hologram projector for 3D calls. Number 3, Vision Pro AR headset officially launched worldwide. Was it number 4, a foldable phone with a self-healing screen?
That was definitely number 3. I'm an Apple fanboy, so there's nothing you could quiz me on Apple that I'll get wrong.
All right.
That's Alex too, right?
1 out of 5. We have 5 questions for you, and then we have a finale question. Awesome. What was Google's major announcement in 2024? A language translation chip that implants into your ears. Bard AI can now code apps directly from user prompts. An AI-powered assistant for pets called Whoopsie PT. Sarah, I want this.
Exactly.
That's pretty good.
A Google Map update that allows a real-time 3D walking avatar of yourself.
It's got to be one of the first 2. What were the first 2 again?
A language translation chip that implants into your ear. That's 1, and then 2
it implants like in your ear or goes in your canal.
I'd have to ask the AI on more specificity. Number 2 is Bard AI can now code apps directly from user prompts.
But given that it's a chip, I'm going to say it's like one of those, fingerprint chip things. I just think it goes.
Okay. I'll go with Bard AI.
Bard AI is right.
I wasn't sure. I don't really follow Google on a lot of their news, so.
But yeah, we're all in on the Wolf Chat GPT, and then for Rodney, we're gonna get that 3D walking avatar for you, friend. So you can be everywhere you need to be when you can't be. All right. Question number 3. Which feature did Tesla introduce into cars in 2024?
I just got a Tesla.
All right. Okay. So
Alex
maybe you're
would
on
be
this.
so happy.
Let's do this. So we've got the flying car capability for urban transport zones. We've got the full self-driving beta released to all eligible customers. We've got solar panels on the roof that can charge the car fully. Or we have a built-in smart assistant for gaming while driving.
So I'm guessing it's number 2, but I think 3 is partly correct because they technically are releasing a solar cover for the Cybertruck. So
You're like, it could be. No one but
I'm going to say number 2.
Number
That is
2
correct.
is it, the full self-driving beta.
I love how
I'll try it out.
Tesla lovers know like the other different features. Like technically there
Yes.
is this solar power, but that's the whole thing about this game is so we were looking for
I
something
see.
that would develop critical thinking and questioning skills because that's going to be one of the top skills that are needed for the age of AI. So questions and answers are very similar, but not quite. And that's the challenge with AI is sometimes it can hallucinate and give you something that sounds really convincing, but is not the right one. But we can't dump you yet. You're 3 out of 3. You have 2 more questions and then one big finale question. What breakthrough happened in gaming? Wait, did I skip? No, I didn't skip.
No, you're good.
What breakthrough happened in gaming industry in 2024?
I'm not a gamer.
So now,
This is gonna suck.
you're not a gamer. Maybe this will be the question we stump you on. Microsoft unveiled Xbox Game Pass integration with TVs requiring no console. 2, a VR gaming treadmill that lets players run in open world games. Some of this stuff I want to actually happen.
Yes.
The first game powered by AI Dragon Master for interactive storytelling. And Steam released a handheld gaming device for a foldable screen with a foldable screen.
Oh, now we're getting into where AI does its thing, right? A foldable screen.
Everything is about a foldable screen.
Yes.
I think 1 and 2 are both true. I think there are, I don't know if I'd call them a treadmill. There are things that let you kind of move around and do things in VR. I've seen those, courtesy of Linus Tech Tips. And then the first one, oh man, I'm guessing that one's false because I know that they have that on PC. I don't think that they would port that over to a TV that is not theirs.
Do you
So
want
I'm
to
going
pull the
number 2.
audience? Audience, are you going to help them out a little bit? So let's throw up your guesses in the chat. Is it 1, 2, 3, or 4? He's
Xbox
focusing on
Game Pass.
1, 2. Go ahead.
Yeah,
So
I'll throw
is
it.
the
I'll
Game
say
Pass letting you play games on a TV that's not an Xbox?
Yeah, okay.
or 2 was the treadmill.
Rodney
5.
guesses
Let's go with
5.
number 5. Yeah.
So I'm like, Rodney, that's helpful. Sean says C, which also, is that helpful too? The answer is 1. Microsoft
Ooh.
unveiled an Xbox Game Pass integration with TVs requiring no console. That's bananas.
Interesting.
Which
Isn't it?
I'm, again, as the mother of a 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old boy, if I could not have that heat coming off those consoles, I would be very happy. And I'm sure there are ways, and you guys can all tell me all the ways that we can make that happen. We're just not there yet. I'm just thinking very simplistically right now. And yeah, the treadmill, I have heard about that myself because of when my kids were telling me about that. And all you can think, at least all I can think is Ready Player One. Here we come, right? Between
I like that,
Eclipse
yeah.
and that treadmill, the omnidirectional. All right. So we are on to number 5 now, friends. And it is, what surprising partnership happened in tech this year? Was it Amazon and SpaceX partnering to deliver goods via satellite-powered drones? Was it Netflix teaming up with Samsung to develop a holographic TV? Was it Meta and Microsoft announcing an AI-focused collaboration on workplace tools? Or did Twitter collaborate with Tesla to build in-car social media hubs?
What does that even mean?
I know, right? That doesn't even feel like a collab or a surprise. I mean, that's the same person. But anyway, so again, was it Amazon and SpaceX, Netflix and Samsung, or Meta and Microsoft? Because we're just going to ignore number 4.
I'm going to go with Netflix and Samsung.
Ooh, this stumped you too.
Oh, really?
Yes. This one was Meta and Microsoft announced an AI-focused collaboration on workplace tools.
That was third on my list, to be honest. I couldn't believe that.
So Microsoft makes sense to me because they own LinkedIn. But Meta as in Facebook?
Well, Meta has their own AI. Microsoft is very heavily invested in ChatGPT. So my question is, how does that work?
Yeah,
Right.
interesting world. I can see where these were some good questions. Shout out to Sarah. She got these questions. I don't know if I would have done as well. So you got 3 out of 5 on this one. And now our highlight question. This one is you get whoa, I gotta scroll. You get headline, you get 3 options. One of them is not true, and you're guessing the fake headline. So what is the fake headline? And they're all, the reason why this is a spotlight is because these are all tech related news from this week. So you had a whole year to know the other ones. This is brand new, hot off the presses.
Okay.
All right. Nivea sales surge up to 94% on AI boom. That's one.
NVIDIA?
Sorry, say again.
Is
NVIDIA?
it NVIDIA? Okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't say that right. Yes. DOJ calls for Google breakup. AI spending sourced to 500% to 13.8 billion. And last but not least, Google as an alphabet buys HubSpot. Which one is the fake news of the week? Number 4?
Yeah.
Is that your guess? It is right. I mean, I shouldn't have gone like this. That was kind of a storyteller.
No, I knew that one right away.
That is right. So in July 2024, Google was going to merge with HubSpot. It fell through, didn't happen. But a month later, a AI powered blog announces that and restarts the rumor up after everything falls apart. And that's one of the challenges with AI is that they can start up a rumor again because what was true at one point in time is now no longer true. So you have done a great job on our game. Thank you for playing and humoring us. You passed. If it was a test, which it was not, you still passed.
Well, I got 4 out of 6, so that's like 80% or something like that.
Yeah. So you could be ACP certified, basically. If this was a certification test, you would pass with flying
I'll be waiting
colors.
for my certification in the mail, Atlassian.
It's from Jira Life. Jira Life is going to send you that certificate right after the show. Do you hear that, Rodney? Rodney is putting devil percentages into the chat. Like 6.666%.
Because I think those are the technical percentages. So I'm just curious, Josh, do you hold any certs? Have you taken any of those exams?
I've tried the ACP 120 and I missed it by like 1 question the first time, and then I missed it by 2 the second time. So I do not.
I've heard people say that it's personal feelings over here, that the more you know the products, in some ways those tests become harder because then you start knowing some of the integrations, you start knowing some of little tweaks here and there, and it makes those things a little bit harder. And then honestly, it's like the more you take the test, the more often you take the test, I think it also, like, it just starts messing with your head at some point.
Yeah. A lot of those questions are so situational, and it's like, well, yeah, this could be right, but it's also kind of wrong. Kind of like those AI tests that you just gave me your questions. So yeah, it's a little tricky.
And we add so much context, right? Especially again, the more you've used the tools, the more you've helped people implement them, you add all of your own context. Because just like you were saying, right? It's like, well, technically, solar panels are coming. So this could also be true.
Chris in the chat goes and mentions, so it's like the difference of Jira as an admin, as a job versus whoever's creating the course and the course text is looking at it as Jira the product. And that creates some complexity in designing these exams of what are we really testing people on. I did meet with the folks in certification and Atlassian University and I spoke with some of them about these certifications and what they mean to people. And I gave them my perspective of like, if you're brand new to the industry, I fully support in people going out and getting product certifications. It gives them some general background knowledge. But the longer you're in it, I don't find the value in that kind of credentialing, because you have real life practical experience to draw from. You could probably write the test, let alone like what value does it? Like I do see from a marketing standpoint value in certifications, but I'm talking more of like knowledge transfer, like testing your knowledge. I'm not sure if it kind of rings true for that specific use case, but someone new to the products, new to the industry, I think those certifications do help.
Yeah, I agree. It's also a little difficult because if you want to become a partner, you have to have certified Atlassian team members, and you have to have a certain number of them. So it very heavily depends on who's certified, and you kind of encourage it. And, obviously those expires, so you have to get recertified, and kind of another gap that is built between people who essentially work with clients and customers with Atlassian. And then, we're not an Atlassian partner officially. Hopefully we will be soon. But yeah, it would be great to not have that as a barrier.
Yeah. So we are partners, and so there's company accreditations that you are encouraged to take, and in order to get different levels, you have to take a certain amount of employees have to take it and pass it in the whole nine. So I did the cloud migration one, and I had debated this one greatly because technically everybody who is going to go to the cloud has gone. Like Alex was like, they have gone. Those who it was feasible are already there because the support ended at the beginning of this year. And I was like, yeah, but I just want to test my cloud migration skills. Like, I just want to see. Oh my God, I got into it. And I was like, yeah, I got no time for this. There were like, I was like, I actually work for a living. I got like 5,000 other things I have to do today. You want me to set up the environment in AWS first? I'm like, you want me? How long do I have to do this? I got to do it in between 17 different other meetings and set up the AWS environment, then move I was like, the actual migration part is this, but you got me doing all of this. I don't know if I can complete it. And I finally had to like email support, and I'm like, I know I signed up for this, but I'm going to have to call it quits. Maybe I'll come back to it in the future, but not likely.
Yep. I'm in the same boat. Let me look at my calendar, and I had probably 2 hours of working time today. The rest was all meetings. So when am I supposed to study for a certification?
Yes. And let alone do it. It's an interesting jam. We'll definitely have to have more on partnerships in the future, and like how to navigate them, how to create a successful partnership, what works and what doesn't. But I look forward to your future partnership with Atlassian. I think you'll add a lot of value to what is offered in the ecosystem, just in supporting customers. So good luck on that. If you need any boost or any advice, you have a couple of partners in our communities. Please feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll keep that in mind.
Getting back just to some general questions, though, that I am just curious about. So if you had to pick a favorite, one of the Atlassian tools,
It's a tough
which
one.
one are you going with?
As of today, probably Loom, because it's just so useful from like a daily, workflow perspective. We do a lot of client communication through Loom. We do a lot of internal communication through Loom. We record a lot of our processes through Loom. We do a lot of our like internal documentation along with Loom videos. So it's like anything we write, we're encouraged to add a Loom video along with it. For example, we were like working on some KPIs and putting together some KPIs for how we structure it at grid.io. And we recorded a Loom on how to run through those KPIs as an employee, recorded a Loom, how to run through those KPIs as a manager. So it's just in everything I do. And I probably record like 5 Looms a day at least. Sometimes it's more than that, maybe like 10 to 20 in some days. So it's, yeah, just one of the most used tools as of today.
I love the AI features of you can translate any of your videos into like 5 bazillion different languages, which is pretty cool because I'm all about a global international work community. So start translating those, even if they're English speakers, just translate them into Japanese for me and just throw it out there. Send it to your staff members.
Yeah, the AI features are really nice. And having that AI headline, you just record the Loom, you know that it's going to summarize it. It's going to auto add the chapters, which is awesome. It's super easy to see right off the bat. You're like, okay, I know what this video is. I know the chapters. I know that the transcript is there. So you just send the Loom and you don't worry about anything else. It's really, really nice.
You can even cut out your ums. So I say so and ums way too much. So I can tell it, cut out my so's and cut out my ums. And I swear my videos go from an hour to 20 minutes. Like, how did I take up that much fluff time?
Yeah, I needed to pick up on you know.
I love it. I love those options. So let's see. So what do you envision for business operations, and how is Grid.io contributing to that vision? So we asked you before, where do you see CEOs going in the future? We're doing a lot of future casting. I hope you shined your crystal ball up for this session. So what is the future of business operations? So we work with a lot of clients, and they're looking at the Atlassian suite to support their business operations. What do you think the future is of workforce, and how is Grid.io, your vision, contributing to the future of business ops?
Yeah, kind of like I was saying earlier, less context switching, using Atlassian for everything you possibly can, and hopefully making that more effective in the future. So obviously, like Confluence is a really great tool for documentation. Jira is a really great tool for project management and customer support. I'm thinking of like more day-to-day hands-on. Right now, I feel like a lack of features or maybe tool set within Atlassian. Let's say like a task manager. I use things outside of the Atlassian world for that. So maybe integrating more day-to-day kind of tool sets and items. Even things like Slack or Teams are, not part of the Atlassian ecosystem. It would be super cool if they purchased Slack, but Salesforce beat them to it. But yeah, I think having more of those day-to-day smaller items that I'm doing very, very consistently and that I need other tools for, integrating that into the Atlassian suite or finding a solution for them, or maybe there's a really cool plugin that comes out that can support that kind of functionality within that suite of products. That's something that I think a lot of teams will kind of switch to on an operational level, and something that we try to do. And again, it's not there yet, so we try it and it doesn't work, but eventually it'll work, and we'll kind of go all in on it.
Awesome, I like that.
It's interesting though, because like for me, sometimes I do think though, having the ability to change off of a screen it does a little bit of a help and a reset in my thinking, because I was thinking about that, like what if everything was under there, right? What if it's just all of these buttons in this one place? Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if my brain could process that, because it wants to compartmentalize so much and be like, this is what I do here and this is what I do here. So we need the tools to do a lot of work for all of the neurodivergent, right?
Yes, I love that you mentioned that, because yesterday I was messaging you about today's show, but I was messaging you from my bed because I had been staring at the same screen all day long from like 6 a.m. to 5-ish. staring at the screen. And even though I was staring at a screen on my phone, I just needed a different screen to stare at. And so I'm going to experiment and see if I can stare at the suite, the whole suite. I'll give myself the leeway of switching between apps within Atlassian. So I'll go from like Jira and Confluence and JSM. But could I do a whole day if I only stayed on there? Or is there some value to occasionally switching out and going through a chat? Because there is a lot of Slack integration within the ecosystem. And so you don't ever really have to leave to get chat or to get Slack. But is there some value to switching over to Slack real quick?
Yeah,
I don't know.
That makes me want to ask Josh too. So have you tried out the new UI yet?
I have. I wish I had access to it, but I'm still waiting for the early access program or the general availability to come out and for them to accept me as a beta tester for it. But I did try it out when they had it as the plugin, and I did like it. There were a lot of bugs at the time. So if the bugs were fixed, I would probably like it a lot more.
Yeah, because I haven't tried it out yet, only because when I work with clients and when I do training, I don't want to accidentally have it on and then start telling people and go down a wrong path that's not there yet for them. But if memory serves, I do think they do a little bit of changes on the, or at least the ability to potentially like even just change a background for a project, more like the
Trello style.
The Trello style, or the work management projects. That's where my head was, right? So at least they're, because I'm so visual, right? Like I need something saying this is where I am, right? To help orient me into a place. And so, even though I know a lot of people might think those kind of UI tweaks are just fluff, right? Like, oh, big deal, you can change the background color of something. For other people, those are so meaningful because again, they get you in that spot. Like, okay, when I see this color, I know I'm on this project. I mean, the amount of customization I do on even just on my tabs. So I can make sure I know this tab, I know this tab, I know this color is associated here.
But dark mode is so important for the neurodiverse. Like we say, oh, we got dark mode now. And to some, it might just seem like fluff. Like, oh, yeah, so you can feel more like a developer. You got dark mode. But it has psychological benefits because it's less strain on your eyes. And for the neurodivergent, it focuses in on that text for us so that we can maintain our workspace for an extended period of time. So I don't do dark mode all the time, but let me tell you, I do maximize the size of all kinds of text. And people see my workspace, they're like, Valerie, what is going on? Like, I'm blind, I can't see anything.
I've always preferred my text smaller so I could fit more on the screen.
See, me too. I'm like, I got to make it as efficient as possible. So
even if I can't read it and I have to get this close, I'll do it anyway.
How big is your screen? Let's get into that discussion real quick. How big is your screen, or how many?
I think I have one screen. It's a 28 inch, I think. Yeah, 28 inch. That's the Apple display. Again, Apple fanboy.
One screen, but it's an Apple.
It's one screen, but I use a very small resolution so I could fit a lot on it.
Wow.
I have two.
I have 4.
Whoa.
What? She's sitting there with like a whole surround system.
I do. And I can't remember even how big my 3, one's my laptop screen. And then the other 3 are like 29 inches wide, maybe. And then each one of those I split. So I typically have at least 7 windows going at a time.
I used to be a multi-screen person, but I've moved away from that, and I found myself using one screen at a time. As we can only do. Obviously, you can't look at both screens at the same time. You're still only using one. It's just more information displayed in a more easy to see layout, I guess. But my solution to that is just being able to use more of the keyboard shortcuts. So being able to just see all of your apps in one place, click on it, boom, you're there. Click on that, boom, you're there. And I also try to limit my apps as much as I can and do it on the web. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 total windows open, and that's it. Everything else is in my Arc browser and organized by folders and by spaces, and it's all there.
Yeah, don't ask me tabs. I also leave my closet doors open, right? Like I always need I need everything in front of me, or I'm so afraid I'm going to forget it or lose it. That's impressive. But yes, I am also
the complete opposite. I close every tab.
Oh my God.
If I have too many tabs open, I don't know what to do. And then I'll forget stuff. So I'm the complete opposite of that.
But yeah, anybody with good keyboard command skills, I'm always like weirdly impressed. Like of all the things that can impress a person, like people's abilities to use keyboard commands, just
it's a very high ROI on your time. So if you take 2 hours to learn some keyboard shortcuts, you're going to save like 10 hours a week. So it's probably one of the biggest things you could do to make yourself more time in the long run.
Do you share those all with your clients?
Or with
Sometimes,
your staff?
I guess if they're interested, yeah. Not like I don't force them on the client. I'm not like, hey, you got to use this. Like here's the shortcut.
Right. I would try to guilt people. I'm like, no, you must. No.
There's even in Mac OS, depending on like what you're using and how you're using the apps, you could go in and set your own and change the keyboard shortcuts like natively. So I do that all the time with pretty much all my apps. And if I'm using Outlook and I need to archive something, I do inbox 0. So I set my own keyboard shortcut, Command E is for empty. I'll do that across all apps. So I have one keyboard shortcut that does the same thing everywhere.
That's so smart. And just the fact that you archive email, I'm like, what's that like? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's not nice when you have like 50 emails and you're like, man, I got to go through all this. But when you're down to like 5, you're like, this feels good.
It's a sense of accomplishment. You're like, I got 5 emails.
Yep.
Well, Josh, we are at time. It's been fantastic. But before we close out, do you have any final thoughts about leveraging Atlassian tools or leading in tech for our audience?
Great question. Leveraging Atlassian tools, I would say the biggest thing is just do it right and do it right the first time. Otherwise, you and your team will probably hate Jira and probably will never go back to it. And that's the case for a lot of teams that I work with, and they end up using Jira and they hated it, and it didn't work out for them, or they're forced to use Jira and they don't like it. But once you set it up in the right way, once it's done right, and you have everything at your fingertips and it's easy to use, it's simple. Pretty much all teams love it. So definitely do it right the first time. If you're getting into it, spend a little bit of money on like a good consultant, someone who really knows what they're doing, who understands best practices, or just look at, other environments, how they're set up, how people are making the most of the Atlassian suite. There's a lot of good stuff on LinkedIn nowadays, some good stuff on YouTube, and you could do your own research and kind of figure that out, but definitely look into that. And just start off on the right foot.
Love it.
Sarah, any final thoughts for us today, Sarah?
Just going to key off of what Josh was saying, right? It's be open in so many ways in our lives. It's be open, as I open up my arms to make that point. But right, like when you're open to taking advice from folks, when you're open to working with, everybody, people you thought maybe you wouldn't work with, people who have different ideas, just that openness, it'll be a game changer.
Yeah.
Philosophical ending from me.
I love it. We're going to end on a little bit of philosophy. Well, thank you all for joining us on this Women in Tech Takeover edition of Jira Life. Thank you, Josh, for rolling with us today. You did an amazing job. We look forward to seeing you next time. Everybody, don't forget to like and subscribe and tune in next time.
And thank you, Revise, our sponsors.
Hey, yeah, don't forget to thank the sponsors.
Thanks, Josh. We'll see you.
Thank you.
We didn't choose the Jira Life.
Are we back?
We didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.
Thank you for listening to the Jira Life. Our hosts are Alex, Dr. Jira Ortiz, and Rodney, the Jira Guy, Nissen. You can find Alex on YouTube at 8Tech Tutorials, and Rodney's blog is found over at thejiraguy.com. Our producers are Robert King Bob Wen and Lina Ortiz. You can catch us live as we record this podcast every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at The Jira Life. Be sure to join us and our other Jira Amigos of the Peanut Gallery every week
to ask your questions, let us know your comments, and just tell us what you're up to. But if you can't join us live, you can still catch the replay over on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell while you're watching. We're also available as a podcast over on Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen to it and think it deserves a rating, we would very much appreciate it, as it will help others discover the Jira Life. Because we didn't choose the Jira Life. The Jira Life chose us.